Hello, everybody. So thank you very much, Daniel, for inviting me. Thank you very much for being here. If you are willing, open your camera, even if you have tons of popcorn and nasty things with you. It's always nice to speak to people instead of, yeah, exactly, Henry. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is the work that I do and the question that comes, which is very relevant to the previous conversations that we heard before. The man you want to be. What kind of a man do I want to be? It's a really, really good question to ask. So my name is Yaron Engler. The program that I run programs for men, and it's called And Then What? And it's all based on the crop method, which I created as a very simple framework that can help the guys to understand what they want and how the process works. But also for me as a facilitator, it's a great process where we can go as a group together, and we're in the group together, but at the same time, each man can choose the pace, the level of intensity and how he wants to approach the work. So it's a beautiful journey where each individual does his own thing while with the group we're going together. So I'm going to bombard you with a lot of stuff. This is going to be like the thing that you shouldn't do in a talk. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you a lot of information because I thought it would be better to just drop a lot of ideas and then you can go and research or feel free to get in touch. But I prefer to drop the common thing. So when we talk about men, and the men that I work with, they are usually men in leadership roles. So there are common challenges for men. And again, I have nothing against women. Just to make it very clear, I love women, and this work is actually benefiting a lot of women. And I love getting the messages from the wives and the girlfriends saying like, I have no idea what you're doing in these groups, but please continue to do it because he's more present with me, he's more present with the kids and so on. So, but I think there isn't enough offer out there for men to do this kind of work. And it's time for us to offer more of that. And that's what I'm offering. So we're going to talk about the common challenges that men face. And then we'll see a few tools that I use in the workshops that you can use for yourself if you are a person that wants to explore these things, as well as if you're a coach. These are tools that you can use. So let's do this. And the themes are, and the first one is, it's very common stuff. Yeah, how can we let go? If we want to live the life that we want to live, we have to let go of a lot of shit. So how do we do that in a healthy way? We all want more freedom, fulfillment, and have fun. But it's not that easy a lot of times when we grow older. The other thing is, especially for guys in leadership roles, like how do I find more time for what I actually want to do when busy? Mission and purpose, two massive words. Like what the hell is it and what it is about and how can we deal with that to make a better life for ourselves? And communication. How can we communicate in a way that is more productive, that is more fun, that creates connection? Because there is so much disconnection in our world that it's time to put the things together. So let's start. Letting go. In order to live the life that we want to live, we need to let go. So what are these things that are holding us back? So the first part of the crop method is about cleansing and clearing. We all have tons of shit in our life that we keep carrying around, even though it doesn't serve us. It could be something that used to serve us in the past and no longer does. And it could be something that never served us, but we keep doing it. And it can be in form of information. What do you read? What do you watch? What do you listen to? I remember the days that I was listening to the news all the time, or when I lived in London and I picked up the newsletter in the morning because it was free. And I was reading it. It's like, at some point I was like, what the hell? It's like corruption, murder, wars and stuff. And I like, you come out of the stage, from the train, it's like you're already nervous. I shifted and I changed to podcasts that I like to listen, music that I like to listen. It's not all crazy. Sometimes it's very calming actually. But then coming out of the train was like, yeah, let's have a fun day. So cleansing and clearing, really important. It comes also to the food that we consume. And I'm not talking about becoming radical. Don't ever just eat carrots for the rest of your life. It's not about that. It's about knowing to find the balance and knowing what's good for you, what's not good for you, raising your awareness to understand, to really notice. And people talk about before, like really getting to know the body, not just spending all the time here. in this box, which is good, but needs to serve us, not to mess about with us. Creating boundaries. Creating boundaries if our life. There, by the way, another thing with the cleansing and clearing people, we all have people in our lives that are really holding us back. And that's where boundaries is really important. How can we create boundaries so that all these things that are no longer relevant for us don't allow to mess around with us? We need to let go of those things. And then there is something that, especially in a container like the men's group, the element of sharing, things that you, sometimes in many occasions, it's things that these guys have never shared before with anybody. And when we build that trust and guys share, often you see that some guys feel like they're going to, they get the courage because there is trust. So they feel like, okay, I'm going to share this thing, which feel like the darkest, most evil thing that they can share, which makes them feel horrible and nasty and ugly. And then after a man shares it, if he sees 3-4 hands being raised, saying, me too, you understand that you're not alone. And there is a lot of power in this, then you can let go of that massive things that really just you kept carrying with you for years after years after years. So that's around the letting go. If you want to live the life that you want, we need to learn how to let go. Then we want all more freedom, fulfillment, and fun, right? So what's going on? Where has the playfulness gone? You know, as men especially, we become so busy and so serious. And I'm not talking about fun of getting drunk, which is a little bit of an escape. I'm talking about real fun. How can we find that? So something that I really like to use, the red energy, something that a friend of mine told me, like, you like to provoke the red energy from people. And I was like, what the hell is the red energy? Never heard it before or after, to be honest. I don't know if he invented it at the moment. But basically he said that I like to provoke people to go out of their comfort zone and really express themselves. Probably because that's my nature, that's who I am. And again, I know that as coach or whatever it is that I want to call myself, I'm not for everyone. A lot of people, this energy is like, but some people, this is something that they're looking for. So how can those who want to have more of that, how can we provoke that? Because once we allow ourselves to express ourselves more freely, like children again, like something that I like to say in workshops, like, let's move our bums and we just shake our bums for a little bit as men. It's like, oh my God. And people feel suddenly a freedom. For that, we need to really build, again, trust. Trust is the most important thing for this thing to work. And when I say building trust, I need to walk the talk. So with my practice, there is nothing that I give to clients to do that I haven't tested for a significant amount of time, energy, and attention for a while to know how it feels like to go through that practice, how it feels like to expose myself this way. Because when I do that, then I can build trust because I'm speaking from experience, not from a textbook. I never flash any certificates that I have because for me, those are just pieces of paper. For me, it's more about the work that I do. If I want to take these guys to places, I need to make sure that I went to those places before, because then I know the boundaries, I know where the game is. Another thing that in order to find the freedom, fulfillment, and fun is I use in my case is drumming. So I was a touring drummer. I've been traveling all around the world and I've been doing crazy projects, and I bring from that thing of the drumming and the touring and the being in big projects and the physical element of drumming, which is exciting and it's physical. So you let go a lot of you let go of your head and you connect with your body. This is really, really useful. And that's a question for you. A lot of times, again, it's instead of teaching from a textbook, it's about us as facilitators to go look back in our life, like what kind of skills, what kind of knowledge, what kind of experience do you have that you can bring to the plate? And how can you merge this with your skills, with what you've learned? I mean, with the actual, if you are a coach or whatever it is that you do. And by doing that, you create something that is really, really powerful because it's based on your true experience. And I really believe in that. So really walking the talk and using what I know. Another part that is important is humor. But when I say humor, I refer more to the dark moments. Something that is really helpful for my clients is we go sometimes to really deep places around grief, around anger, around sadness. But what works really well is to remember and to inject it in a very kind and sensitive way, even in those moments, to inject a little bit of humor and to see that even in those dark moments, we can still see the whole spectrum of life. and see that I can be completely sad and completely, but still know that there is the connection to all the other elements. And that shift between the light and the heavy is really useful for the work that I do with the people that I work with. Next thing is time for yourself. This is a struggle for a lot of guys because we have become completely addicted to the doing. Doing is like a tag of honor. Like being busy became a tag of honor in our society. And I have a good friend, Chris Gardner, who wrote a book called The Busyness Delusion, which I strongly recommend. It's a business book told as a story. And he talks about how come it became like when you're meeting people and you ask them, how is business? How are you doing? As man, it's like, yeah, it's very busy, as if this is the point of what we do. So busy is not the point of what we do. And we need to really redefine what is life is about, what is success about. Because if you're busy, I don't know, I prefer to do other things. Then there is the contradiction of slowing down. That's a good one. A lot of these guys, when they come, if I have a CEO of a company or someone who is director, it doesn't matter, founder, they want to know what is the program about, like what's going to happen, and they want to know the structure. And that's not the way I work. The crop method is we have a structure, but it's very flexible because I need to really flow with every guy wherever they go. And there is the long arc, the big arc of coaching. You know, if we do a 10 months program, it's a long time. So we have the goal. What are we trying to achieve in those 10 months? But at the same time, you have all the little arches of things that will happen throughout the process. And we need to attend those in a way that are more urgent and important sometimes. So I always tell these guys, they want to know like how it's going to be. And all I tell them is like, what we're going to do, it's probably good advice for me right now, we're going to slow you down. And they get really pissed off when they hear that because it's not in their range yet. But it's so beautiful to see that once they do it and once they learn how to relax, we learn, because I'm also in the process, we become so more efficient. It's like it's this contradiction of by slowing down, we can speed up, by stopping. Just see the power of that, for example, if I just there is a complete different dynamic suddenly that can happen. And if we create that kind of like, whoa, what happened here? We let the mind kind of get confused for a second, then we can tap into deeper wisdom that is in us, that embodied wisdom, and then use the mind to execute. But the actual truth, as I like to call it, or the essence of everything cannot come from thinking. It's in us, and we just need to let it bubble up. And again, it's beautiful. I see guys, I have a client who was so busy, had a team that he always had a conflict. And by learning to slow down, he even started to go to Buddhism classes after doing some work with me. We had a chat and he told me like, yeah, I was able to go. My brother had the wedding, and for 3 days I left the business and people just did what they had to do. I could go completely, and he was completely on their neck before. So it was really beautiful to see that from learning to slow down, he really benefited and the company benefited. And then the last one is to breathe. If we want time for ourselves, all we need to do sometimes is just to stop, and you can do it right now with me. And actually, instead of taking breath in, I like to do things a bit different. So exhale fully. And now take a deep breath. This is a very, very, very simple thing available to us 24/7, although we are messing about and most of the time we forget to do it. It might sound weird, but we forget to breathe. And that's where we get tensed and the body gets tensed and the thought gets tensed because we have carbon dioxide stuck in the system and we don't have enough oxygen. So remember to, actually it's a good one to just exhale first, let some carbon dioxide go out, which is causing the stress, and then a deep breath in. And doing 1 or 2 of those, you're already feeling better and you can slow yourself. And therefore you would feel nothing has changed in the world, but you would feel that you have more time for yourself. Let's move on. I have no idea about time, so I'm just going to move on. Mission and purpose. This is a big one. This is a big one. It's big words, but there are so many men living life, feeling completely lost, angry, stuck, frustrated, feeling that they're stuck in the hamster wheel of life, despite their success. And this is a massive problem. So we need to really understand how can we find that mission and purpose, something that is more meaningful for me, so I don't feel lost. So the most important tool, and again, this is a big one, but it's it's to really, that's the biggest work with my clients. After we do all the cleansing and clearing that I spoke about, the crop method, we go to the R, and the R is reconnect with who you truly are, reconnect with your truth, reconnect with your gut feeling, with your inner wisdom. Your mission, your purpose has to come from the inside out. And unfortunately for many men, that success is built on expectations of others, society, parents, teachers, and so on. And this is where we really need to unplug it and to allow guys to take the courage to look inside themselves. And it's a scary thing for a lot of people because it contradicts how we lived our life for 10, 20, 30 years. But when we do it, and when we get the courage, and again, in these groups, you get the most supportive environment to go there, then life becomes something, and it's much more fun. So going from the inside out, another tool that is really helpful, I'm going to go really quick on that one. It's the King archetype. There are 2 books. I like the modern one, which is called King. I think it's called King, Warrior, Lover, Magician. These are 4 archetypes that we all have in us, men or women. For a woman, it will be just Queen, but it's the sovereign in us. The problem with a lot of guys is that there is a lot of attachment because of influence of society to the warrior archetype, but the toxic warrior, which is the workaholic, the one that needs to kill and slay no matter what. But there is no real mission. The king is completely absent. So the warrior just goes and war. And we need to cultivate more the king archetype in us that can tell the warrior, 1 second, this is our kingdom. Our kingdom means this is our business. This is our family. This is our health. And to decide this is what we want to create. And then the action that the warrior archetype takes is much more grounded and balanced. Again, 2 books to read on that. My preference is the one of Rod Boyroth, I think. I'm probably messing the name. Great book that I recommend. Also a great coach. Then I have no idea why I chose this photo for effective communication, but yeah, life is a bit weird sometimes. This is a big one. There are so many relationships that are falling apart, both at work and at home. And you know, we are being taught a lot of stuff in school. Well, I'll get to that in a second, but something that I work a lot with men is nonverbal communication. Men are more challenged, and women somehow have it naturally. I don't know if it's naturally, I don't know if it's conditioned, it doesn't matter, but you know, there is something that is blocking a lot of guys from understanding the communication that happens beyond words. Because for a lot of men, they truly believe that what they hear in the words is what is being communicated. So if they hear I'm fine, they think that I'm fine, it means that the person is fine. They don't always understand the difference between yeah, I'm fine and I'm fine, which is very different communication. The words actually don't matter here, and you need to listen to behind the scenes what happens. Now, I made this one quite obvious, but there are all the fine tunes there that we need to, if we start to learn how to use these things and to really fine tune, like, oh, okay, there is a different thing communicated here. We can really start to have a better communication because we understand, we can make the other person understand that they are being heard, and we can understand more than just the words. There's a lot more in communication. Another big thing that we work with the guys is to understand that everything we do, every action and inaction that we take has a huge impact on what's coming back to us. And it's not only with words, it's the way we stand, it's the way we sit, it's the way we walk, it's the way we breathe, it's the way that we smile or not smile. Now, everything that I said, we can look at the not, it's the way we don't stand, the way we don't look. All these things have a huge impact to what we're getting back. And that will be if we have colleagues at work, that would be if we have clients, and that would be with our intimate partner. And by learning how to take responsibility on the way that we show up, what comes back is very different results, and they do get better. Another thing that we work a lot around communication is there is the masculine and feminine scale. And again, I'm giving here super high level, but the masculine feminine scale, as I like to call it, we have the extreme masculine, the extreme feminine. If we're talking about masculine traits, we're talking about strategy, about getting things done, about being direct, for example. And if we talk about feminine skills, we're talking about compassion, about self-awareness, about care. Now, it's not men or women. We all have those skills in us, and we all get stuck somewhere on that scale. If we're talking about extreme, for example, in the case of men, staying in the extreme masculine will be a guy that is really good in business and get shit done, but he will have then coming back home, he will have really hard time to connect emotionally and with intimacy to his partner, and there is a lot of issues there. On the other hand, the man who is very much in his feminine side will be someone who is very good with children and really can be good with animals and very caring, but they're really lacking purpose all over the place with business, with money. Now, these are the extremes. We all get stuck somewhere on that scale. And again, it's not just men, women as well. And the work, and that's something that we work a lot, is how can we move on that scale freely, so that we need to be direct. When we need to be direct, we can be direct and say what we need. And when we need to give love and compassion and take care of things from a more soft place, we can do that, and we can really move smoothly. And the last thing is really important when it comes to that, like, who teaches men intimacy? What we hear as men is like all this macho bullshit, but who teaches us how to create intimacy? That's what I said before. In school, they teach us how to calculate triangles, angles, which I never used after school, what happens in chemistry, which I never used after school, all the physics and stuff. And I'm not saying these things don't have value. They have value for those who are interested to pursue them. But most people need to learn intimacy because there are too many relationships falling apart. And there is so much miscommunication there. And we start to learn how to build that muscle of intimacy. And it's something that needs practice. It doesn't come like that as intuition. Some of it, yes, but some of it needs to be practiced. So we learn how to bring it into ourselves, then bring it into the relationship, and then good things happen, and it's beautiful. And I'm saying it from also personal experience. So that's it. This is about the man you want to be. We spoke about how to let go, how to create more freedom, fulfillment, and fun, how to create more time in our life, how to connect with mission and purpose so that life becomes more meaningful and fun, and how to improve our communication. All these things and more is what I do in my programs. And you can see, if you want more details, you can go to yaronengler.com program. And the program is called And Then What? And also you have information there about the crop method. And hopefully I was on time. I have no idea because I can't see the time, but I will stop sharing here. And if there are any questions, I might be able to answer, or maybe
you
not.
are perfectly in time, Yaron. 7 minutes
Perfect.
still left. There's actually one question in chat. Yaron, how do we know what and when to let go?
Wow, I love this kind of question. I don't know the answer. I need to think about it for a second. How do we know? What was the question exactly? Let me read it.
How do we know what and when to let go? Yes.
I think the thing that comes up for me intuitively right now is by doing the thing that I mentioned before. Stop. Just stop for a second. Take time. Take the phone off, the computer off, the dog off, whatever you have on, you take it off and just check in with your body. The previous speaker spoke about, getting into the body. That's exactly what we need to do. We spend most of our time here. If we just let go, you will notice, this is a practice that I do a lot with body scan, to really check in with your body. Where do you carry tension? Where do you carry stress? And just acknowledging it, not trying to get rid of it, like, oh, this is happening here. Those physical elements will give us indication that other things are happening. If people trigger you, anything that triggers you, so what happens usually, we try to push it away. My invitation for you from today, everything that triggers you, pisses you off, see it as a gift and lean into that and see like, oh, what is this trying to tell me? Because then you will learn what you need to let go of. Hopefully that makes some sense. Any other questions?
Okay. Anyone, any other questions? We have still space for others.
Everything is clear. Life is sorted, man. Perfect. Thank you, everybody.
Great. And if there are no other questions,
I'm happy to let people speak. I don't know what are the rules of the game.
Talia, let me just, Natalia, if you have another question, just unmute yourself quickly and then you can speak now.
Mary showed her videos, so I'm assuming, and Aline. Do you guys have any questions? I mean, I'm so curious just to hear what men talk within their men's groups that women don't know. Like, what are the
There is a lot. Confidentiality is the case. You will never know,
like
unfortunately. But
like mystical examples?
Everything. It's about everything. We open up everything. So we will talk about success, and we'll talk about life purpose. We will talk about shame. We will talk about judgments. We will talk about life, about the difficulties, about challenges, about it's what women talk about. It's not different. It's just that for men, and I honestly don't know if it's because of society or if it's biological thing that men are more reserved. But what I'm noticing that when we create that safe space, men really want to share, and by that let go, and that brings the results. Does that make sense? I can't hear you.
Yeah, it does. It's just I'm still questioning being leading women's circles all the time, but being in the environments where I'm leading men in terms of technology. I'm seeing how women are connected to the moon more and to the planets, and letting our bodies to be guidance for us. I'm wondering how men are tackling that in terms of what voices and how to tune in and what to listen, again, what to let go of.
I don't think that in the core of it, I don't think there is actually a difference. The conversations that will happen in the end are very similar. The things that are holding us back, the things that we want, maybe the type of things that we want will be a little bit different. And again, we are generalizing like crazy here. But then, as you know, if you run women's circle, there are certain practices that are more feminine. There are certain practices that are more masculine. For me, if there is a man who is very much in his feminine side, we will do more masculine practices to help him ground himself, to get more clarity and direction. For a guy who is very masculine, I would take him to shake his bum and to slowly do more feminine practices, which I assume it might be things that you do, and in order to take him there, but not to stay there. That's the thing. When I spoke about that scale, that for me probably is the mission for any human being, I believe, is for us to master the movement of the scale of the masculine and feminine. Because if we can do that, sometimes as a man, I need my wife to take the masculine role because I'm fucked and I need her to be there, and vice versa. So I think for me, it's about mastering that scale.
Okay, not a question, but great presentation, Yaron. My husband is listening in from the chat.
Please serve. Thank you, everybody, for listening.
Great. Then, if there are no other questions, I thank you so much, Yaron, for the presentation. Thanks for your energy.
Thank you,
from
my friend, for having
the very
me.
first minute. You bring the energy, especially in the late evening, the last few sessions where everyone is kind of tuned in since the beginning and running out of energy. You bring back the energy. That is great. Not just for men, but for women as well. So in this chat, that was really for both genders. Great energy session. Thank you so much, Yaron. Thank you.